President Biden's top science advisor resigned last night after reports of his bullying treatment and a toxic work environment. Now, several share specific accusations that he belittled and demeaned women on his staff. Mark Meredith has more from the White House. Mark.
Good evening, Liz. President Biden's top science advisor, Dr. Eric Lander, resigned only hours after Politico broke a story that he was cruel and rude to staffers right here at the White House. On Monday, the White House admitted that Lander was investigated late last year after multiple people complained that he was violating the president's policies requiring respect in the workplace. But at first, the White House was standing by him, officials saying he would be closely watched to ensure he would change his behavior. Then last night, Lander said he was quitting. In his resignation letter, he wrote, "It is clear that the things I said and the way I said them crossed the line at times into being disrespectful and demeaning to both men and women. That was never my intention. Nonetheless, it is my fault and my responsibility. I will take this lesson forward." Shortly after taking office, President Biden vowed to hold staffers accountable for bad behavior. Still, the White House faced questions today about why he was able to stay in his job before resigning on his own accord.
It was made clear to him through the course of the day yesterday, I suppose, that he could no longer lead OSTP effectively. And he conveyed that in his letter. The president accepted his resignation.
And while Dr. Lander is leaving his post, the White House is still thanking him for his service. The White House saying he's made a noticeable impact advising the president on a number of issues, including the pandemic, as well as climate change and the Cancer Moonshot Project. Liz?
Mark Meredith, thank you for your reporting there. It's a great report just now. Good to see you. Joining us now, member of Senate Health, Education, and Labor, he's Senator Mike Braun. Senator, it's good to see you. Your reaction to this?
You know, whenever you make statements like that, in this day and age, you probably ought to make sure, number one, that you don't have people on your staff that are going to put you through that. And I think, once the information came out, he could have fired them to make a point of it. I mean, when you're sanctimonious like that, Liz, and you're talking about it, and you haven't even had the diligence to kind of make sure on your own staff you don't have people that are going to put you through that. I think that's what happens when you're out there kind of moralistic. You don't pay attention to the details. And I think it's kind of almost emblematic of so many other ways that the Biden administration has navigated through stuff. But yes, in this case, I think they should have been more forceful in terms of getting rid of those individuals when you put so much out there that you would do that if it actually eventuated. They didn't.
Got it. Hear you, Senator. Senator, your reaction to this Wall Street Journal report that the White House rationing antibody treatments to the states. Florida's governor, other states have been upset about this. The report is that it's making the pandemic worse. It's versus letting hospitals or the states order and distribute them as needed. And now we're hearing they're running out of the treatments. Your response to this story?
So when it comes to that particular supply chain issue, which they harp about all the time, that is due to, just like when they did lockdowns. Now Johns Hopkins says that that's only had a 0.2% effect on mortality. You buy into it. It's bureaucratic in the first place. Remember, originally they didn't want to do the Trump vaccine. Then they said that they were going to distribute it, get it out there. They gambled that that vaccine was going to be a silver bullet. It's been kind of a leaky one from the get-go. We're lucky we've got it. But as a result, they didn't put the emphasis on therapeutics. They kept doctors from actually prescribing stuff that they wanted to do for their patients. And yes, now when you put so many eggs in one basket and the vaccine's not working, therapeutics are going to probably be just as important, but we're faltering there. This is an example of it.
Yeah, if we
one
have to live
size
with
fits
it.
all.
Right, if we're going to live with it, we have to have the drugs out there. So let me just bear with me on this, Senator. And the viewer, if you could just stick with this, because you'll see how haphazard it is, what the Wall Street Journal is reporting, what happened at the end of November. The White House stopped shipments of GlaxoSmithKline's antibody treatment right when Omicron hit. It increased shipments of Regeneron and Eli Lilly drugs. The HHS told a biopharma reporter it paused not because of Omicron, but because it had a surplus of the Eli Lilly drugs, then said no, it was driven by Omicron. Then HHS found Glaxo's drug works better than the other drugs, against Omicron, resumed shipments of Glaxo's drugs, and then tried to claim it paused the shipments to, quote, ensure a more balanced portfolio of monoclonal antibody products out there. So you see the topspin there, Senator? Your take on that?
So again, I think when you have results like that, you got to look at what the root cause was. You know, they put so much emphasis on vaccines. They did not have any of these supply chains out there. Then they had contradictory policies coming out of our health experts. Only recently have the folks that I interview about every 3 to 4 weeks, Fauci and his crew, even acknowledge that therapeutics are going to be part of the solution for what is now an endemic healthcare issue. And look at all the distance we've traveled in 2 years, all the money we've spent. Now therapeutics look like they could be relatively more important than vaccines. Here we are, you know, fumbling around.
So let's stick on this. Then the White House stopped distribution of the Regeneron and Eli Lilly drugs, saying they're ineffective of Omicron. 8 days later, it resumed the shipments to the state, claiming the significant variability and the prevalence of Omicron variant and the like. And then they paused the emergency use authorization for Regeneron and the other drugs. Aren't local hospitals and officials better at this than the D.C. centralized Washington, knowing what variants may be in their region? I mean, we're not even properly DNA testing. We only test less than 5% of DNA samples for COVID, for variants. So why are we doing all this? Why not just do full-on release the drugs into the states?
Yeah, at this stage of the game, the government has done about as much as it can. This needs to be turned back over to the healthcare industry. We're going to be dealing with it year after year in some type of endemic form. And yes, the distribution of vaccines, which are flooding the markets, therapeutics, and even prophylactics, preventatives need to be out there if we are going to really quell this thing in the long run. They staked out their territory. Right now, they're off. Return it back to the experts, the doctors, the healthcare distribution system. Let's get the government out of it. We don't knock anything out of the park here, bureaucratically, top down, in many cases legislatively to boot.
Senator, it's always terrific having you on, Senator Mike Braun. Don't be a stranger. Come back soon. We love your insights, okay? It's good to see you.
My
the
pleasure.
White House